Welcome to Travel Guide and Photography. I'm Larry, your host. If you're new to the channel, thank you and welcome. If you're returning to the channel, thank you and welcome back. And thank you for joining me on this new playlist, My Favorite Photos. And it's not just for photographers, even though I'm going to focus on still photographers because that's my background. It's for everybody. What you might not know is for the last 12 years, I've been crew on various cruise ships throughout the world. For 8 of those years, during the summer, I've been in Alaska. And I'm going back again this year. Starting April 30th, I will be on the Holland America Line's Koningsdam, and we're headed to Alaska starting April 30th through the first week of October. So that's going to be the subject of this playlist this week, Alaska. Because I love Alaska, and like I said, I have been there a lot. I'm going to share images, my favorite images, of glaciers, of the mountains, of wildlife. When you go on a cruise, one of the most important things is your itinerary. Not just in Alaska, but anywhere. But especially in Alaska. You want to make sure that you go to Glacier Bay National Park. Last year, I did a 7-part series on Alaska. Talks about everything you need to know in Alaska. Right here is a link to a video I did on itineraries. Take a look, it's important. You want to go to Glacier Bay National Park. When you go to Glacier Bay National Park on your ship, the captain is going to stop at the Marjorie Glacier, and he's going to spend about an hour there, and he's going to spin the ship. For those of you that like to just sit in your cabin and check out the view, that's one way to do it. Another way is to go up to the upper deck, the open deck, and you'll have a nice view from there. Another thing people don't think about is going down to deck 7. That's usually what deck the ships have their light boats on. That's also an open deck. So you can get outside and take a look at the glaciers and the scenery from that level. You're about 60, 70 feet actually closer to the water line. So it's a total different perspective. And some of these images were taken from deck 12 or 13. Some of them were taken from deck 7. So that's something to keep in mind. Go up to the open deck, take a look at the glaciers and the scenery from there, but remember, go down to deck 7. The first image this week is in Glacier Bay National Park. It's of the Marjorie Glacier. It was taken in May of 2016. It is one of my all-time favorite images, not just in Alaska, but anywhere. I really like how the light comes through the clouds, the different contrasts in the image itself. I call it the majestic Marjorie Glacier in this image because to me it is very, very majestic. This next image is also of the Marjorie. A little bit different perspective because we're either a little farther back on the ship or I used more of a wide angle lens because we have the water in the foreground here. Again, it's a really, really nice shot. It's one of my favorite shots, and that's why I put it in this particular video. Another glacier you're going to visit in Glacier Bay National Park is the Lampu Glacier. And it's really changed a lot over the years. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I have my beliefs, but that's not what this channel is about or this playlist is about. But you can definitely see from one photograph to the other how much of that particular glacier has melted in just a 3-year period. This first image is one of my very favorites of the Lampu. It's a nice bright day as far as a cloudy day goes. It has some really nice clouds. They're kind of white, they're kind of puffy, and you have a nice shot of how wide that glacier is. Again, the Lampu Glacier, but it's after 3 years, only 3 years, and look how much smaller that glacier has gotten. Again, this is one of my favorite images of the Lampu Glacier. It's a nice calm morning. There's a really great reflection on the water. I like how it's framed between the two mountains and the glacier coming down in between. I like the kind of the wispy clouds and how it looks. So this overall is again one of my favorite glaciers. Again, Glacier National Park, the Lampu Glacier. I really like this again. It looks like a storm starting to come in. I like how the clouds are wrapping around some of the mountain peaks. I like how the sun is kind of shining through in certain areas. To me, it's just a really, really nice photograph. Glaciers are one thing that people really think about when they go to Alaska. So I hope you enjoyed these. Now let's set off to another subject. This next photo also of Glacier Bay National Park, but is from the sky. In Skagway, you can take an excursion. There's a link right there. Go see Paul at Mountain Flying Service, and he's going to fly you over Glacier Bay National Park. He has 3 different itineraries. The middle one is one of my favorites. I did like the first one. It's a little bit less time. And the last one I haven't done yet. I'm hoping to do that. That's a 2-hour flight. I'm hoping to do that this summer. I've lived in Yosemite. I've lived in the Rockies. I've lived in the Sierras. And they're beautiful and there are rugged points. But nothing to me matches how rugged the Alaska mountains are. And this one with the glacier coming through, emptying into the sea. Just love this image a lot, and I hope you do too. This next image is again on a flight. It's the exact same flight as the one that we were on before. I call this one Solitude. You can see the rugged mountains in the background, but in the foreground is just a small range, just a small crest line, and it just seems very peaceful. It just seems like a very solitude place to be, and I love this image. I hope you do too. Okay, I hope you like those last 2 images of Glacier Bay National Park on a flyover. Now another favorite excursion of many people is taking the train to Skagway up through the pass. This is the same route the pioneers came and crossed over from the Yukon down into Skagway, or from Skagway up through the Yukon. And it took a very, very long time for them to break this trail. Now you have the luxury of going on, sitting on an old-time train in some of the cars, seeing how beautiful it is going through the mountains. I've done it early in the spring. I've done it later in the year. This one photograph here, again a favorite, kind of shows you how majestic the mountains are. Shows you what you're going to pass through. And I think it's just a great image of the train about to hit a trestle going through the mountains. So again, another one of my favorite photos. Okay, I showed you some glaciers, I showed you some mountains, but what's another thing people think about when they go to Alaska? Wildlife. And there's a ton of wildlife to see. This first image is one of my favorite images I have of an orca, or a killer whale. It's in Juneau, it's a solo orca, the mountains in the background, kind of pastels, kind of subdued. I just like this image a lot. I think it's very simple in the subject matter. Again, it's one that I will blow up and put on my own wall. This is one of my all-time favorite photographs. In fact, I liked it so much, it's the cover of my book. If you don't know what bubble netting is, it's when a group of whales sound, which means they go down deep, they turn around and start to come up, and one whale will blow a ring of bubbles. And it frightens the herring into what they call a meatball, into a group. And they start to come up towards the surface because the whales are below them. The whales start to take off like a rocket ship with their mouths wide open and break through the surface. One of the keys to this is look for birds in the sky. If you see birds circling, you know the bait is near the surface. And a lot of times in Alaska, it means the whales are about to bubble net and come up and explode through the water. It's one of my all-time favorite photos. Like I said, it's actually the cover to my book. Again, another one of my very favorite shots. It's my favorite shot of eagles. If you want to photograph eagles, you want to go on an excursion in Ketchikan. It's called the Bering Sea Crab Fishing Tour. They're going to take you to a net island, and you're going to see eagles come flying out of the trees like groups of mosquitoes picking up the herring that they throw from the deck of the ship. It's absolutely fantastic. I have so many great images of eagles. I might do a playlist just of eagles. I really love the 2 eagles where they came off the branch together to head out to the water to pick up those fish. So you're going to get wrapped up on the ship, taking a close-up of the eagles diving down right next to the ship, picking up the herring, but don't forget to look at the trees themselves. Again, it turns out that this is probably my favorite eagle shot. If you want to go on this excursion, take a look at this. That's a link to my favorite excursions. This next image is going to be the final image in this playlist. It's one of my all-time favorite images of any subject. It's of Kodiak brown bears outside Juneau. It was also taken on excursion. Link to an excursion video of Alaska. You want to get a hold of Bear Creek Outfitters, get a hold of Matt. Tell them you want to go out and look for bear to photograph or just to watch if you're not a photographer. It's truly an amazing, amazing adventure. You want to go a little bit later in the year, towards the end of July, August, September is even better because that's when the salmon are actually in the creeks. You're going to fly out to the island, you're going to walk back about a mile, and you're going to wait for them to show up, and hopefully they will. You have to remember, when you're photographing nature, they are not on your time schedule. They're on their own time schedule, and they're going to show up if they do at all. So patience is the name of the game. I could not have posed this photograph any better of this Kodiak bear family. One is looking straight at me, another one is looking 90 degrees to one side, another one 90 degrees the other side. It's one of my very favorite all-time photographs. Shutterbug magazine named it one of the top 10 nature photographs. I believe it was 2016 when I took this image. I hope you like this new playlist, My Favorite Photos. It's going to be on all different destinations, all different subjects. If you like travel guided photography, please subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing. You'll be notified when I make a new post. Also, hit the like button. Let YouTube know that you like what I'm doing. I love doing this. I really want to keep taking different images and different videos for you. So again, thank you, and I'll say my goodbyes till next week.